like that? Hey, this man's talking some sense. Let's get out of here. Zombie apocalypse ain't all that bad. Y'all ready? Reload. Grabbing a crowbar. Hey, I'm reloading.
go through here.